Well, hello there, and happy Tuesday to you. It is the 28th of October. Very happy to have you here, and more importantly, David Rothkopf is our very special guest on today's show. We had an awesome conversation, went live with him yesterday afternoon, and if you want to watch it, you can go over to youtube.com/standupwithpete or substack.com/standupwithpete, or you can wait because it's coming after news and clips on today's show. I guess you could jump to it because it begins at about 29 minutes. Man, it was a great conversation with David Rothkopf. As always, looking forward to see you guys on Thursday night. It'll be my birthday/Halloween show. I hope you'll come in costume for the Thursday night hangout if you want. You don't have to. But that is 8 p.m. this Thursday for paid subscribers. If you're not a paid subscriber, well, what is going on? Patreon.com/Pete Dominic is the place to be. Welcome to all new subscribers. Very happy to have you join our Discord platform where people are chatting all day long. All kinds of side chats and sub chats and question of the day and lots of fun stuff. And you can support other listeners in their creative outlets and work. And it's just a great place, this community, the stand-up listener community. And I'm so happy to have you listening right now. Hi, Kayleen. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Penny, and all the rest. Just giving a few shout-outs of some of the folks who email me to let me know they enjoy the show on a regular basis. Hi, Kevin Beish. And, of course, hello, Tina. If you're a regular daily listener, I would love to give you a shout-out. If that makes you feel good and it's a nice little surprising thing, let me know that you listen to the show every day. And if you listen all the way to the end, you get a special nickname if you don't know already. Okay, well, I've got your news. I've got your clips from yesterday. It's time for the shit show.
It's Pete's Headlines and Clip Show. Get in on the shit show.
Get in on the shit show. John Carroll, November 6th. You can see him in Virginia at Purcellville, Virginia, his album release party. We love you, John. All right, let's see. What's the shit show bringing us today? Well, a hurricane apparently edging toward Jamaica, set to make landfall as a historic Category 5 storm, winds of more than 170 miles an hour. Jamaica bracing for what the National Hurricane Center said would be the catastrophic flash flooding, landslides caused by up to 40 inches of rain in some places. The storm is due to make landfall early, well, today. It should be going right through the center of Jamaica, it looks like, but then it shoots off to the east, way out into the Atlantic Ocean, so it won't make landfall. It looks like all the way up to New York. It's going to be way out in the middle of the ocean by that point, so that's good, but good luck to everybody in Jamaica. Damn, it looks bad. All right. In other news, Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine overnight into Saturday killed at least 4 people, wounded 16 others. In the capital of Kiev, 2 people were killed, 9 were wounded on a ballistic missile attack in the early hours of Saturday, according to the head of the city military in Kiev. Terrible. A U.S. warship is docked in Trinidad and Tobago's capital Sunday as the Trump regime tries to boost military pressure on neighboring Venezuela and its president, Nicolas Maduro. And now there is news coming out of everywhere. The Miami Herald is reporting that the Maduro regime apparently says they have captured a group of alleged mercenaries with ties to the U.S. CIA and accuse Washington and Trinidad and Tobago of coordinating military exercises intended to provoke an armed confrontation in the Caribbean. In a statement released by the vice president, Venezuela, the socialist government said the arrests revealed what it described as a false flag operation planned from waters bordering Trinidad and Tobago or from Trinidadian or Venezuelan territory to, quote, generate a full-scale military confrontation against Venezuela. The regime's announcement comes amid the fast-growing buildup of U.S. forces in the Caribbean launched by our dear leader to combat drug cartels, ostensibly. But is it that? The administration has signaled that it might soon authorize ground incursions into Venezuela to target the so-called Cartel de los Soles, a narco-drug trafficking organization who the U.S. claims is led by Maduro himself. The Venezuelan government has not released any evidence or details about the alleged arrests, such as the number of suspects, their nationalities, or where or when they were detained. So it's really hard to know what is actually happening But there is a lot of suspicion that this is not about drug trafficking as much as it is about oil. So look into that and let me know what you learn. And speaking of fossil fuels, the pro-pollution regime on Friday reversed the environmental regulations governing copper smelters. So they want to give them a 2-year exemption from having to comply with the stricter emission standards imposed by the last administration. Smelting heats copper ore to high temperatures to separate it from impurities. The process emits hazardous pollutants, including lead, mercury, benzene, arsenic, and dioxins. Those don't sound that bad, though. In a proclamation, Trump called copper essential to the national security, economic strength, and industrial resilience of the United States. Said the regulation imposed severe burdens on a few remaining domestic copper smelters. In 2024, there were 2 operating copper smelters in the United States, one in Arizona and another in Utah. Well, good, that's great. So we'll be smelting copper again. And speaking of restoration, the Defense Secretary and DUI hire Pete Hegseth has restored the independent internal Pentagon think tank called the Office of Net Assessment. Their job is to focus on future warfare and wars. 7 months after the agency was dismantled in the name of, quote, accountability and efficiency. According to a memo obtained by the Washington Post, other people familiar, the Office of Net Assessment apparently is back in the Pentagon. So they just cut everything away, and apparently they're bringing back the things they now believe they need. Sounds like a real efficient, smart process. A former state lawmaker whose testimony under a plea deal about a taxpayer-funded mail business scheme helped prosecutors land the conviction of a former Tennessee House Speaker. Well, he's been sentenced to 8 months in prison. Former State Rep Robin Smith, who was a Republican who had pled guilty to 1 count of honest services wire fraud more than 3.5 years ago, said during her sentencing hearing that she had failed the trust of the public. Well, I'm sure Robin Smith is headed right to the top of the pardon list for phony soprano. Good luck. Good luck, Robin Smith. It's a bold plan, but a team of defense industry startup envisions a new fleet of miniaturized unmanned aircraft carriers stuffed with autonomous killer drones. It's the stuff of nightmares. Anti-aircraft missiles and torpedoes that will take on just about any enemy at sea. Okay, miniaturized unmanned aircraft carriers. Well, the group pitching the Pentagon on this idea, they got close financial ties with Don Jr., so he's positioned himself to profit considerably if this very ambitious but clearly unproven venture succeeds. The proposal, this is New York Times reporting, by the way, is by 2 companies, one from Puerto Rico called Red Cat, and the other is Unusual Machines in Orlando, Florida. And it is, I don't like it, but as long as Eric and Don are in charge, maybe it won't go anywhere. Unusual Machines gave Don Jr. 200,000 shares of its stock late last year in return for help as an advisor. Those shares now worth $2.6 million. So there you go. Access. Buying access through the Suns. That's what they do. They sell access to the president. That's their job, and people pay them. And apparently that's completely on the up and up and legal, even though it's the height of corruption. Well, Amazon is preparing to announce sweeping job cuts beginning today. The layoffs will amount to the largest cuts to Amazon's corporate workforce in the company's history, spanning almost every business. Amazon is expected to begin informing employees of the layoffs via email today. The company plans to lay off as many as 30,000 staffers across its corporate workforce. Amazon has declined to comment, and so, well, that's terrible, but inevitable, I suppose. In health news, diphtheria, a vaccine-preventable disease that is especially dangerous in children, is surging. One hospital in Somalia has had nearly 1,000 cases this year, compared with 49 last year. And more health news, the anti-vaccine movement has now led some pet owners to oppose life-saving rabies shots for their cats and dogs. They're not getting their cats and dogs rabies shot. Wow, I'd heard of this, but the fact that it's getting bigger is, I guess, foreseeable. Such abuse. The world's oldest president, his name is Paul Biya. He's from Cameroon. He just won re-election. And guess how old he is? He's almost 100. He'll be 100 years old when his next term ends. So I got to take a look at the picture of this guy. And lastly, John Dickerson is the co-anchor of CBS Evening News. Been with the network since 2009. I've interviewed him several times. I've gotten to know him a little bit. He is a great guy and one of the best. The best last remaining reporter at CBS News said that he is exiting at the end of the year. One of the best in the business. The future of CBS News is not bright, not good, but hey, there's other outlets, and we need to keep talking about how we decide and discern between who is reputable and credible and is of value that we should send our money and our support to and who isn't. I am very happy to have you here with me, given my almost 15 years of doing this. I like to think I've introduced you to some real smart people and have listened closely to your ideas, your criticism, what you like, what you trust, what you believe is good sourcing, credible journalism, and I thank you for it and for being here. If you want to support me, of course, patreon.com/Pete Dominic. It would be awesome if today you went and got a paid subscription for as little as $5. Very happy to have you here. Every day I'll run through these news headlines, choosing the ones that impact you the most, staying away from gossip and sports and all of the rest. And then I gather the best audio clips from the day before. None of it's easy. It takes hours every day to put this first segment together. And let's move on to the next block. That's the clips part of the shit show. Here we go. Let's start with some jokes, some comedy. I like to start with some laughs as we get into it. It's Seth Meyers and his news update last night on NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers.
President Trump told reporters today aboard Air Force One that he'd love to run for president again in 2028, but added, quote, "I haven't really thought about it." You haven't thought about it? You have merch. That's like James Cameron saying he hasn't thought about Avatar 4. President Trump announced over the weekend that he will impose an additional 10% tariff on imports from Canada after the province of Ontario released an ad that showed former President Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs, which is bad news for this lady who just imported something from Canada.
Yeah, it's Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau picture.
President Trump announced last week that a friend sent a check to cover military paychecks during the government shutdown. Now they just need to convert it from Marlboro miles.
Oh, it's Kid Rock.
President Trump attended a dinner hosted by the Association of Southeast Asian Nations yesterday in Malaysia. You know, whenever I get bummed out about what a bad president he is and how he's destroying the country, I remember that at least he still has to do stuff he hates. Because, you know, he didn't know who anybody was, he hated the food, he doesn't know these countries. He was like a kid in church for a 2-hour mass on a perfect summer Sunday. And sometimes that's all we have. When asked last week if President Trump enjoys gambling, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that she was not sure. He literally owned casinos. That's like asking this guy if he likes tricks. Clearly.
That's the tricks
Clearly
rabbit.
He does. During a tele-rally last night for New Jersey Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli, President Trump promoted Ciattarelli's ability to lower energy costs. I mean, it's Jersey. They could just turn down the setting.
Oh, a picture of a tanning bed. Okay.
A deli in Queens is offering a so-called Curtis Sliwa Hero, which features grilled chicken, roasted red peppers, arugula, and fresh mozzarella. They also have a Cuomo Hoagie, which is a sandwich nobody wants, but they give it to you anyway. A middle school in Oregon recently served students soft pretzels that had been mistakenly sprinkled with oven cleaner. Yes, said the lunch lady, mistakenly. A pig named Norbert recently set a Guinness World Record by skateboarding 33 feet in under 12 seconds, while the previous record holder was delicious.
Oh, it's just a picture of ribs. Delicious-looking ribs.
And finally, today was the 121st anniversary of the opening of the New York subway. To get an idea of what the subway was like back then, ride it today. And that was a monologue, everybody.
He's good. I love the way that Seth Meyers delivers jokes. Real good. And I like the writing. And there you go. A good way to start off the shit show clip show. All right, here is the governor of Minnesota, former VP candidate. It's Tim Walz, who's at a factory in Minnesota talking about the government shutdown and the effect it's having on people. And he was fired up, and I like it. Here he is.
Would be horrible This is not a both sidesism. This is owned by the Republicans. It is owned by their ability to want to have anything their way. They've got a president that is pulling money back that was appropriated by the legislature, which these legislators, I know, I'm glad they are, would be horrified by that idea, giving up their authority as an independent branch. So I know Democrats are ready to go. I know they're ready to come back and do this. They're ready to come back and protect things that had passed the legislature. They are not willing to come back and let an authoritarian president do whatever he wants. The people are going to be lined up out here to get food, and we're talking about a damn ballroom. Don't lose the plot. Don't lose the plot of what's going on here.
Yeah, you've been waltzed. Don't lose the plot. Love it. You know what? Let's do another 90 seconds. Let's get a little bit more waltzed. He was asked a question about Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who apparently was in Minnesota on Friday for what he thinks is looks like a publicity stunt and a fundraiser. You'll notice at the end of this, you'll hear a reporter, not very well, ask him a question about an accusation she made, I think, about why he didn't meet her while she was there. Walz has a great answer here, very insightful. But at the end, he says, I think some reporters should ask where she was staying. I'm just reading between the lines here. I'm guessing that Kristi Noem kind of double dips. She goes and gets a publicity stunt in different states, in different parts of the country, does a publicity stunt at the border or wherever the hell, an ICE facility, takes pictures with, a table with a bunch of drugs and a bunch of bald white guys with their arms crossed, wearing flak jackets and all that shit. And then she hosts a fundraiser or does something for Trump to raise money. So I think that's what he's insinuating when Walt says at the end, ask where she stayed. Here he is.
Well, that's untrue. I've sat in front of Congress for 8 hours and said that. I do not run ICE. She does on her private jets. I see ads for $50,000 in student loan forgiveness if you'll join ICE. We're looking for teachers and nurses. We're looking for folks that would like to run a food bank and things. So everything coming out of DHS right now is about theatrics. It's about a media hit or whatever. My guess is she's probably here on personal business and used it as a way to pay for it by having a press conference that had absolutely nothing factual and nothing new. So we'll continue to follow the federal laws. We always have. We will continue to do what's required of the state, and we would ask our federal partners, quit terrorizing people and do your job. No one's saying that you shouldn't go after criminals, but why are you standing in line arresting moms trying to pick up their kids from school as they're waiting for their immigration hearings to go through the proper channels? So just a distraction, more of the same. Again, somebody got intrepid journalists here. Really? Why would you come? Why did you come? How much did it cost to come here and do that little press conference? And where were you staying when you were here? There's a little work to be done.
Yeah, there's a little work to be done. He wants you to ask a few more questions about Kristi Noem's visits to Minnesota. You've been waltzed, governor of Minnesota. Well, we've got the governor talking governors. Let's go to the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, who's gotten a whole bunch of respect and credit for the way he has stood up against the Trump regime and their stormtroopers. As the governor of Illinois, he was talking to Nicole Wallace on her podcast, The Best People.
Well, not everything is a both sides issue. When someone's breaching the Constitution, it needs to be called out. If there's not two sides to it, there's a Constitution, it says what it says, and then when someone is literally breaking the law because they're ignoring the Constitution, there aren't like two sides to that. It should be called what it is. This group of people is ignoring the law. I understand the job of the media is to make sure that when there are two sides, that they are both fairly presented. But sometimes they're not. And especially when, there's fact and fiction, you don't present those equally.
Yeah, well done. Well said by J.B. Pritzker. I like it. Good stuff. And I thought this was interesting to share with you as well. Listen to this dummy. He's a UFC fighter. And if you didn't know that, well, listen to him. His name is Bryce Mitchell. And he had endorsed Trump voted for him, and now he's come out and says he regrets his support because he says Trump is compromised after hiding the Epstein files, giving more money to Israel, betraying American farmers. So those are the things that are making this guy, who so publicly supported Trump, come on camera. He's a UFC fighter, made a video at his house with his little dog, and he's calling Trump the Antichrist now. This is pretty interesting. And I beg you to stay with it through the sounds that his dog is making and the citing of the Bible verses. He comes right back to Trump.
I want to let y'all know I'm not with Donald Trump no more. I don't support him. I don't like him. I think he's a corrupted leader. And, yeah, it took me a while to come to that conclusion, but I finally am coming to it. I do not like the guy at all. The first thing for me was he didn't release the Epstein files. They're even acting like they didn't exist. And then, of course, they're sending Israel and Ukraine all of our tax dollars, just like the numbnuts before him did. Putting America last. And now he's blaming the beef farmers for the price of beef. Hey, I'm not biased, man. He talked a good game. He tricked me. I was fooled. I admit it. Okay, now let me tell you how bad I think this is, though. This is really this bad, guys. I want y'all, if you're a Christian, I want you to get into Revelation 13:3, and I want you to read that verse. Yeah, about the Antichrist, about the one who was fatally wounded in the head. Then he was miraculously healed, and the whole world marveled at him and said, no man can make war with him. Yeah, I do think that Donald Trump is that beast of Revelation 13:3. Yeah, go read it. Go read it. There ain't another man that's ever walked the planet that fits Revelation 13:3. Then read the rest of the chapter, and it'll tell you the mark of the beast is coming in 42 months. Now, I'm not saying that I know that Donald Trump is this man of Revelation 13:3. I'm just saying he's the only one who could be right now. Go read Revelation 13. He's the only man that fits that description. Yeah, and I'm totally done with the dude. He's done to me. He's done. He's a goner. He's compromised. He's right up there with the rest of the pedophiles, man. And it sucks to say that because I supported him for a long time, but he's a good actor, and he had me fooled for a long, long time. God bless y'all, and thank you.
All right, there you go. So I hope you hung with it through the Bible talk, but I think that's important. I'll take that as a ray of light from that guy being turned off for those reasons that he so perfectly articulated. And speaking of ray of light, here's one. These two gentlemen talking. Jon Stewart talking to the soon-to-be mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, on The Daily Show last night.
I have to tell you, one of the most, I thought, shrewdest campaign moves, and this was in the primary, not in the general, is when you walked from the top of Manhattan all the way down to the bottom and met people. You've got to be very confident in yourself to do that, because New Yorkers will generally tell you what they think.
Yes.
When they see you.
And even when they are telling you something that's technically supportive, it sounds like you're being heckled. Like,
that is what we do.
Yeah, I was on Nostrand Ave a few days ago, and this woman just pulled up in her car. She was like, "I'm voting for you." And I was like, I don't, thank you. It just sounded like I was about to get my ass whooped, but it was by my voter.
Right.
So it was a
And New Yorkers,
experience.
by the way, no one will be as mad at you if it doesn't go right as the people who love you now. Have you felt that as well?
You know, it's often framed as a burden or as an obligation.
Right.
But frankly, I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to actually show that this whole campaign where we've talked about freezing the rent, making buses faster, free delivering, universal child care, these are not just slogans.
Right.
These are commitments. And when we deliver them here in New York City, it will be also the delivery of a politics that can actually aspire for more than what you're living through. And for so many people across the city, politics has just become synonymous with an argument of celebrate the little you have or lose that.
Right.
And it can't be that.
Zero sum.
It can't.
Yeah, there you go. Jon Stewart talking to Zohran Mamdani on The Daily Show yesterday. It was real good, the whole interview. Here is another comedian named Joe Rogan. just, again, reacting, telling an anecdote from his own life, because that's how these people think. Unless they know someone who's going through it, they can't possibly have the empathy. And here's Joe Rogan modeling that perfectly on his most popular show in the nation.
During the first Trump administration, there's this dude who was a contractor who was doing something for my house. And he was Army veteran. I think he was in for 20-plus years and worked at a management position at a big construction firm. So he did like a prestigious job. He was like a legit guy. So he's at Home Depot. And he's dressed nice, polo shirt on, nice slacks. He looks like a guy who has money. These ICE guys pull him over and demand that he show them their paperwork. And, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And he says that to them. And then he pulls out his Army ID and, his driver's license. He's like, you can't do this. You can't just come up to people. He goes, I'm a fucking American citizen. He goes, I was born in America and I served my country for 25 years. And you fucking idiots are just going to harass me in the parking lot because my family is of Spanish descent? The fuck away from me. I was like, God damn. Because here this guy is like, gentleman businessman, like sweetheart of a guy, wonderful to talk to, great to do business with, have a conversation with him, great guy. They just looked at him because he's brown. Like, that's it. There's no way you could make any other way you're going to point to that guy and think he's an illegal. That guy's driving a brand new Silverado with a construction logo on the side of it, shiny, clean car, polo shirt, slacks, clipboard in hand. Fuck you. That's what I'm worried
about. He said, that's what I'm worried about. I cut him off there. But yeah, well, fuck you, Joe Rogan. You literally said in the first Trump administration that happened. So of course you knew it was going to happen. It's terrible. I don't know if that's a recent clip when he said that. So I've got to be careful, like, kind of the timing of these. I like to be specific about when somebody said something, no matter who it is. All right, well, there you go. Those are the clips that I've gathered for you today. And all right, well, finally, I've got a little bit from Jimmy Kimmel's monologue last night. He was off last week. He's back on ABC, and here's a little sampling.
Meanwhile, back here at home, the unrest in Portland continues to rage out of control. Antifa terrorists are destroying government. Oh, wait, that's the White House. Oh, that's what Trump did on purpose, without permission, to the White House. I told you we should have made him put down a security deposit. Over the summer, Trump announced he was going to build a big, beautiful ballroom, but promised it would not in any way affect the structure of the White House. And then he demolished the White House and left his Secretary of the Treasury to explain why.
Why didn't the president tell the public he was going to tear down the entire East Wing, which, as you know, is a part of the People's House?
I think this was a judgment call on the president. The president is a master builder. I don't know. I assume that maybe parts of the East Wing could have been asbestos, could have been mold.
Could have been some old Chinese food, could have been ghosts. We don't know. All we know is the only solution was to completely smash the whole place down. I wish the master builder would master build in private like the rest of us do. So far...
All right, there you go. Jimmy Kimmel, and that is your clip show for Tuesday. I hope you liked it, and if you did, then show the support. All kinds of ways to do it. I don't do ads here. I just keep plugging the show. So I don't break into an ad to tell you to buy a supplement or a job finder. I mean, I've done those in the past. Maybe I'll do them in the future, but I do like to remind people that I'm not supplementing myself here, and I'm not telling you any nonsense as of now. I'm just plugging the show where I would put an ad, And so this plug is to write a rating and review wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, most of you listen there. Write a review of the show, why you like it, how long you've been listening to it, who some of your favorite guests are. If you need any ideas, let me know. Or if you need to know how to get there, more importantly, to write the review, I can help you with that too. Just be like, Pete, I'd love to write a review. Can you show me where I'm supposed to do that? And I'll help out. Or you can just look it up how to write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify specifically. That's my ask today. Let's get to David Rothkopf. He is, of course, of the Deep State Radio Podcast Network, which is so good. We talked about one of the shows that his company produces, Greg Sargent's show, which is really great, The Daily Blast, I think it's called, and a lot more. We talked about all of everything that's happening. David Rothkopf is one of my favorite guests to talk to about all of the issues that are happening and that we're watching, and he is also the writer of a great Substack, which I subscribe to, called Need to Know. He's also a contributor to the Daily Beast and so much more. He's written a whole bunch of books. He's been involved in and outside government for years. You know what? He pretty much knows everybody. He's a big deal. I always like to shine his apple. He's so great. Great to join me. You can watch this on YouTube because we were live there yesterday afternoon. Let's do it right now. You've been Rothkopfed. It's been hard to get, but we got him. And I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Well, I'm in demand, Pete.
You are.
You know, it's just it's this what happens.
What happens when you become as a superstar in media?
Oh yeah, media. Yep.
Media, media titan, a king. I mean, you do great work. Deep State Radio Network. You guys have some of the smartest conversations and the smartest guests.
Yeah, and we're growing like crazy. I got to tell you.
I got to say that. What's your deal with the Greg Sargent? You guys produce his show? His show is very good. I listen to it every day.
Yeah, we produce that. He's
a very smart guy.
Very smart guy.
Yeah. Good talking to you. Thanks.
You're a smart guy too, Pete.
I don't know Greg Sargent. I know David Rothkopf or any of these.
Oh, man. Who is?
I'm smart at getting smart people to talk to me is what I'm good at. So look at this.
Good at that. Yeah, that's something. I wouldn't sniff at it.
No. Well, I got a lot of questions I want to ask this guy. So first of all, I know you're a big fan of this ballroom.
It's great. Everybody should dance. Let's dance.
That is being built. You're pretty excited by it. You wrote a piece about it, as a matter of fact, for the Daily Beast. It's no small thing because of what it represents, of course, and there's a lot of different ways to think about it. Everybody should go read your piece, but they tore down the whole East Wing. Can we just start with the fact that they just tore down part of the White House?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And there are laws and they break the laws. They break laws every day. We're numb to it. Nobody stands up to it. We used to have a Congress that would stand up to it. We don't have a Congress anymore. We used to have courts that would stand up to these things. We don't really have courts that stand up to these things anymore. And so anything that they do that breaks the law or violates a norm or is an offense to our society also ends up being a confirmation of the institutional failure that's plaguing our society and having us circling the drain at quite the speed.
Well said. Very well said. Yet Congress is standing up. The Democrats are standing up against the Republicans. That's why the whole damn government shut down for week 4?
Yeah. Well, and that'll go on for a while, and glad they did it. Now, having said that, they're standing up against the Republicans for the bill a bunch of them voted for last spring, saying, oh yeah, we'll get them in the fall. And it's like, okay, I mean, what kind of games are we all playing here? It'd be great if the Congress did what the Congress was supposed to do. It's not that difficult. They have the power of the purse, write a budget, ensure the budget is enforced, ensure the president doesn't do that, oversee the executive branch in terms of, how it's behaving. There's not a whole lot of things for them to do, but they don't do any of them.
Well, it certainly seems like the Republican Party in Congress has zero independence from the regime, from Trump himself. And in fact, so beholden. I guess Trump made a comment about it that got picked up, but apparently he's like, yeah, Mike Johnson does whatever I tell him. He's like my little, I can tell him whatever to do. He jumps, I jump. And right now, Mike Johnson is keeping the House closed, so he doesn't have. Is it true, David, that there's only one way to think about why the House is still out of session? It's because they don't want to have to bring in this new congresswoman and have this discharge petition completed and release Epstein files? Is it that simple?
Well, I think that's certainly part of it. Frankly, they should have admitted her a long time ago anyway. People are, admitted when Congress is not in full session anyway, just in pro forma session. That's been done in the past, done for Republicans. So clearly they object to that. They don't want to bring this thing forward. But they also don't want to grapple with the reality, which is the Democrats are winning the argument, because it's true, that the Republicans don't care that millions of Americans are going to lose their health care. And some will go bankrupt, some will die, some will suffer. And that's a central element of that big, hideous bill. One element was give tax cuts to billionaires. The other was fuck the rest of us. And the Democrats are zeroing in, finally, at last, on the fuck the rest of us component.
It's outrageous when you take a look at the bill about how much money they gave away in continued and new tax cuts. It's also outrageous when you look at the cuts that they've made, and yet the money they continue
They give money to Trump's friends, and they take money from everybody else. And by the way, it's global. They're giving more money to the president of Argentina, which, in order to help him win an election, than was in the budget for USAID this year, which helped actually the United States of America. They give money to billionaires so that they can have more billions, and the rest of us get squeezed. And it's not popular. Despite what Trump says, his approval ratings are down in the dumps because people realize that they're getting slammed, that prices are going up, that our standing in the world is falling, that services are non-existent right now. And we're just about at the moment where people who, for one reason or another, need food aid from the United States of America in the form of SNAP aren't going to get it. They're going to go hungry. People are going to go hungry, one of the richest countries in the history of the world, because our government's incompetent, because our president really doesn't care about the American people, and neither do the Republicans. So, that's pretty disgusting, right? Pretty disgusting that people are going to starve and people are not going to be able to get health care because of that kind of thing. Or that we ended cancer research for little children so that Elon Musk could have $1 more.
You're for cancer research for children? You support that?
Radical proposal, radical democratic socialist proposal, crazy Zoran Mamdani, nutty proposal that we should try to help little kids with dangerous diseases.
Shouldn't they pull themselves up by their bootstraps?
If they were real Americans, they would. If they were as good as Charlie Kirk, they would.
You talk about Trump's friends. He's not even giving disaster aid to blue states like Maryland, who needs $30 million. They need $30 million for relief from their floods. And he's like punishing.
Sounds to me like you were listening to Greg Sargent's podcast today.
I was. He's absolutely where I got this from. He's been banging that drum. It's super important.
Well, yeah, but what was the punchline of the podcast was that a bunch of people who are really getting squeezed in the state of Maryland live in Western Maryland in districts where 40 to 50% margins for Trump exist, because these are people in Appalachia who, they're like West Virginians, right? They're very pro-Trump. And these are the people who are getting screwed. And sooner or later, these people are going to go, hey, wait a minute. It's like, I'm an American farmer. How come I'm getting screwed? I know Scott Bessent, are just unbelievably unctuous and unpleasant Treasury Secretary, says he's a soybean farmer and he's feeling the pain. Imagine for a second, do you have any cattle on your ranch?
I do.
Yeah, of course. And so when you think, well, I'm going to raise cattle and then I'm going to sell some of them for beef. But the president says, screw you. I'm going to screw the international markets that use, but I'm going to give special ability to the Argentines to import that cattle.
It's crazy. What's his obsession with this guy, Javier Milei, who just won re-election apparently, and partly
because Trump helped him. He likes Javier Milei because Javier Milei likes him. He kissed his ass. He walked around on stage with Elon with a big chainsaw. And his whole policy approach is, sort of libertarian, over free markets and screw the little guy. And screw the little guy is so core to Trump. But also Javier Milei is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He's got 5 cloned dogs. He taught tantric sex. Now, you've taught tantric sex.
I did.
So it's not everybody. Well, yeah, you're famous.
One semester.
Famous for that, because you're famous for making women say, no, I think I can withhold my pleasure.
All I do is show up.
And they go, I think I'm feeling strength.
You have no idea how hard it is for them.
Yeah, no, but yet somehow. But this, Javier Milei actually taught tantric sex. Maybe still does, as far as I know. And has Trump one of the 2 worst haircuts in America, in the Americas.
He's a weird dude. Let's stay in South America, because the president of peace, who's brought peace to all over the planet.
Everywhere, every fucking country. Had a war. He solved, you know what he did? He announced the other day at a Greek restaurant, solved the Peloponnesian Wars.
Wow, they got handed to him.
No, people say they've been going on for thousands of years. But
I mean, he is the peacemaker. It's ironic that he's making all this peace in the rest of the world, and his own people are in a war, it would seem, against each other. Americans, that is. But
he's invaded Portland.
Exactly. I mean, seriously, it's wild how divisive he is at home, and he's, quote, trying to bring people together. But it would seem that the peacemaker is saber rattling. I've read a little bit about this. It looks like Marco Rubio has a real hard-on for Venezuela and is kind of running a secret war. Oh, and they're just killing people in boats. They might be fishermen. They might be drug smugglers. They might, I think, just be boat owners. And when you have a boat with 3 outboard motors, sometimes you're using it to fish. Sometimes you're helping someone move a dresser, and maybe sometimes a couple keys of Coke on your way to the DR. But regardless, no questions asked. Hegseth, the Department of War, is just blowing them up. It doesn't seem very peaceful, is what I'm saying. What are we doing with Venezuela?
Well, first of all, we killed 40 people without any evidence, without any due process, because they hate due process, because it's weak. Due process is woke. But and they want to go and they want to get into a war with Venezuela. 1/7 of the United States naval assets are currently off the coast of Venezuela, which does not pose a threat to us in any respect, including, by the way, the one that they say it poses. Venezuela is not a major drug transshipment point. They're just using that as an excuse to go after them. But this is classic. This is the bully picking on the scrawny little kid at the cafeteria table. I hope this is not triggering you, but it's ridiculous to think that the most powerful military force on earth is going to turn its attention to Venezuela. But it ties into a bunch of things. It ties into Stephen Miller's hatred of Latino people, hatred of immigrants. It ties into the false narrative about how gangs are destroying America with this Tren de la Aragua. It ties into Marco Rubio's obsession with Maduro, who's a terrible guy, by the way. Nobody should be in favor of Maduro, but it ties into that. It ties into their desire to look strong. It ties into the fact that the country has a lot of oil. We're not really sure what Trump wants from all of that, but it's got a lot of oil. It's got a lot of aluminum. It's got a lot of mineral resources. So maybe he's got some scam that he's playing there. Who knows? But it's cuckoo. If I were Mexico and I saw the United States flexing its muscles against the Venezuelans, I'd be real concerned. He doesn't like the Colombians much. I'd be more concerned. But back to those boats, by the way, none of those boats that they've sunk actually were of a type that could actually make it all the way to the United States.
They're South America. They're like 3 outboard. They're not big boats. They don't go more than.
Well, that's right. That's right. I saw some guy, some right winger on the Twitter, or I don't patronize Twitter, on Blue Sky, saying something about how, here's a boat and it's full of drugs. Don't tell me it's a fishing boat. And then somebody else said the picture was from 2012.
Yeah.
And the guy said, your mama, which is a weird thing, but this White House responds to a lot of people. If you noticed that a couple times recently, in the recent past, people have posed difficult questions for the press secretary or the White House director of communications. And the response of the White House has been, your mother.
That's right. They asked Carolyn Leavitt and Stephen Chung the same question, like who's going to be at the summit or whatever it was. It was a who question, and they answered, both of them, your mother, which I actually thought was how initially when I saw that they answered your mother, I laughed and then I cried because of who it was and who it was being said to and who said it, and it was awful. But at first it's like, how can that be? How can you say that?
Yeah, well, and I think, what's missing here is they all think this is high entertainment, and it's Trump flying around in his airplane, dumping shit in the American people or whatever they do, which they think is like, oh, that's going to get, that's flooding the zone, and that's going to get all sorts of clicks and all this other stuff. But what people aren't driving home to you, when the White House says to a legitimate question from a legitimate reporter, your mother, what they're saying to the American people is, fuck you.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to know anything.
That's right.
We don't respect you as citizens of the United States. And that's, but that's their whole attitude. Their whole attitude. This is the fuck you administration with a policy of fuck you very much.
Yep.
And in America, Mike Johnson is like, well, I don't see anything wrong with that. And, John Thune is like, well, the president's got a quirky style, but we support him. And that, look where we are.
Yeah, the president likes to, have fun on social media.
Did you see the Netflix movie House Full of Dynamite?
I did.
It's good, right?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with the ending.
Yeah, because you wanted to see the world end, didn't you? You wanted to see the end. We wanted bombs to go off. No spoilers.
Yeah, come on. But what's his name, that actor that plays the president?
Idris Elba.
Yeah, I wanted him to take care of everything, is all.
Well, he did. And well, anyway, let's set that aside for a second. I think there is something in that movie that we don't tie enough to the insanity in the White House. Okay? There is one person on earth who has the ability to launch the entire United States nuclear arsenal purely at their whim. If the president of the United States, if Donald Trump decided that the crazy thing he was going to do today was nuke Venezuela or nuke anywhere else, no one could stop him. Do you know how long it would be between him saying nuke this place and the missiles going up? Do you know?
I think someone would stop him.
No. Well, first of all, I don't think they would. There is no mechanism to stop him. But secondly, it's 4 minutes. It's 4 minutes from the time the president gives the order to the missiles being launched. What I'm saying is there's all sorts of crazy stuff that we shrug off as being impossible. You couldn't invade Portland. You couldn't threaten to take over Greenland. You couldn't stand up for Vladimir Putin and against all our allies. You couldn't steal billions of dollars in public view. You couldn't say you were going to run for a third term. You couldn't do all this crazy shit. And guess what? You could say the same thing about firing nuclear weapons. And yet, he can do that. He can do that. And the guy's not compos mentis. He's crazy.
I also felt like that movie showed how chaotic things can be and how difficult, no matter how prepared you are for something, it could be to complete a mission. And that's with the most qualified people in charge. And I feel like that's the case of that show, Netflix. There's no show that's been able to dramatize or characterize having a madman in charge, an unpredictable madman in charge this way. And to have the federal government be led by not only a madman, but so many unqualified people. And what that leads to, not only that, the general morale decline that we've heard about, especially with this government shutdown, it does beg the question.
Right. And when you say, well, Pete Hegg said, oh, yeah, he's a frat boy. Ha, ha, ha. No, he's the Secretary of Defense. Okay. He is in it. Okay. Oh, well, they fired a bunch of generals just because they were women or they were black people. And they're putting in place a bunch of right-wing nuts who would do whatever Trump said. Oh, that's interesting. Now, it is. If you went out to dinner tonight with your best buddies and you said, do you think that it's possible that Donald Trump will deploy American troops in American cities next year during the election to suppress the vote? And there were 10 buddies there. How many would say, yeah, I think that's possible?
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
So, I just want everybody to be aware of the consequences of accepting insanity, illegality, and evil as parts of our daily, life and as aspects of our own government, because they don't stop here.
They're in Asia right now, making sure everything gets taken care of. What do you want to say about the big Asian summit and what this is all about? Why didn't you go? I figured you would have gone.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, I wasn't invited, but I do think, something that is semi-good will come out of this. And that is, there is one country in the world that actually gets how to deal with Donald Trump. And by the way, it's not Thailand, which had a little ceremony and said, oh, yeah, you helped us solve the war with Cambodia. That was bullshit. And it's not Japan, which said, hey, why don't you come meet the emperor, who also has no power, but it's going to make you feel better. And, oh, yeah, we're promising you $550 billion in trade, but we're actually never going to do that. It's not them. It's China.
Yeah.
It's Xi Jinping. Their response to Trump is, heck no. We are equal. We are not going to be bullied. And the result of that is Trump respects them, and Trump desperately wants to deal with them. And they've said they're going to announce a framework to forestall further tariff increases. And then they're going to have another discussion, which will predate Trump going to China next year to meet with Xi, in which they will cut some kinds of tariff deals, which, by the way, will reduce our tariffs a little bit, and we'll have the Chinese promising to do some crazy shit about buying a whole bunch of things, which they know they don't have to do because they did it the last time he was president. Right. They said, oh, yeah, we're going to buy hundreds of billions of dollars, and then they never got around to it. They know how to play him, and he knows that they're the ones that hold the cards. And frankly, I think he's be perfectly happy to give them a wink and a nod on Taiwan. I don't know that we're going to get quite there, but I do expect that Trump and Xi will have what amounts to successful meeting, in the sense that Trump will promise not to do some of the crazy ass shit that he's threatened to do to them.
Right.
But let me ask you a thing. What do you think of the Canadian tariff increase?
Of what he did the other day when he had a bad dream?
Yeah, because he saw a commercial that said Ronald Reagan didn't like tariffs, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to increase the tariffs on them." And first of all, he doesn't have the power to do that, but he's doing it anyway. No one's stopping him. But secondly, Ronald Reagan actually said what Trump is saying was fraudulent. It's not fraudulent. Reagan didn't like tariffs. But Trump, he just gets triggered in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, via tweet, deepens a trade war with our number one trading partner, which goes back to my point. We have a very high tolerance for utter lunacy these days.
I think that it's interesting to pay attention to how Canada's reacting. Like, they're just getting more and more unified by the punitive measures that we are taking. And there's this solidarity in terms of their consumption, where they buy stuff. They're like, they hate us. Do you blame
them? Do you blame them? But we're treating them like
I always blame them for everything. I blame them for arguments I've had in my personal life.
Do you want to sing a chorus of Blame Canada here?
Yes, please. Yeah. I usually do. That's how I wake up in the morning. I mean, it's crazy to think that you could alienate Canada so much and so consistently, just in case it would seem that things might, quote, normalize. He goes
and let's be honest. Canadians are it's the nicest country in the world. There is no other place. I mean, the people in Canada are nice. Everything is nice.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the most edgy country in the world. It gave us Justin Bieber and Shania Twain and some
great comedy.
You have Second City. Yeah. Well, yeah. They gave us, Eugene Levy, I guess, and some of those folks.
Jim Carrey, Michael J. Fox, John Candy.
Queen. Yeah, exactly. John Candy, exactly. Well, that's fine. And Degrassi High. I know you watched Degrassi High a lot, and
I did.
We're an early Drake fan from Degrassi. Yeah, those were the days. But picking on the Canadians, it's just inexcusable. But here's the thing. They're our number one trading partner. There are millions of Americans who depend on our trade with Canada for their jobs, for their well-being, for the economies in their states. And all of those people are getting punished as well because Donald Trump, after all this, he doesn't know how tariffs work. After all of this, he still doesn't get how tariffs work.
What do you make of Justin Trudeau dating Katy Perry? That's pretty cool, I think.
I think it's on brand for both of them.
Well,
it is completely. If you were to say pick a world leader, former world leader that Katy Perry would date, or if you were to say pick somebody who would date Katy Perry, who was the prime minister of country to the north of us, I would pick Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry every time.
I think it's great, and I'm rooting for them. I'll be disappointed if they break up.
They will. They will.
Do you think Orlando Bloom is okay? Did he choose to get out of that? Do you know anything about what happened there?
It's funny. I'm not that close with Orlando and Katie, but if I saw Katie go up in that Blue Origin spaceship or whatever she went up, I would be like, okay, I'm done with you.
That was a real turnoff. I just asked because it's possible that you're really good friends with them because, of course, you were friends with Bob Redford. We learned.
Some of the things in my life are real and you mock them, but I know some people. I used to be in show business.
No,
I used to be a theater director.
I'm not mocking it.
I could name some names.
I've seen you, and I think that it's impressive. I'm very impressed with that. That's why I've tried to get closer to you, so I can get closer to some of those names.
Okay. Yeah, it's important to draw a line.
All right, my last question I want to ask you about two more. Ukraine, Russia, the latest. Zelensky was here. It sounds like it did not go that well. Trump apparently yelled at him behind the scenes, didn't give him these missiles, that there was some question he might get missiles. But today I saw you were sharing, I think on Blue Sky, this statement from Zelensky where he's thanking the UK and France. I also saw an article, I don't know how good it is, the journalism, that there's this, it's not looking good for Putin right now. He's on the brink. Others want to get rid of him, some former expats, some powerful expats that he got rid of, rather. And so what are your thoughts on the latest there?
My thoughts are that Trump hasn't not changed his position at all. It was always pro-Putin. He's the one who cut off a lot of the U.S. supplies to Ukraine. He has not restored them. He has not imposed anything serious in the way of sanctions with Russia. Russia triggered him a little bit by humiliating him time and time again on this war. And so he has put into place some sanctions on two Russian oil companies. But The real trick is going to be whether he then does secondary sanctions on the Chinese or others who buy oil from them. And my guess is he's not gonna, because there is a pattern here, and the pattern is soft on Russia, hard on Ukraine. It's why the meeting with Zelensky went badly. Having said that, we did an episode of Deep State Radio with the former ambassador to the Ukraine, Bill Taylor, and Rosa Brooks just the other day, and we were talking about this, and Bill thought, there's been a little bit of progress. At least he's doing some sanctions. And I think something bigger is going on, which is something you just alluded to, and that is that our allies, which were depending on us to do everything, don't depend on us to do everything.
Yeah.
And, there is a blessing in that. We should be more supportive of them. But the reality is that if the Europeans will step up and do the right thing and provide the missiles and provide the money and help harden our defenses against Putin, that's a very, very good thing. And I think that's happening because they realize Putin is testing their limits in Moldova, in Georgia, in the Baltics, in Poland, as well as in Ukraine. And they realize that if they don't strike a unified, strong posture versus Putin, they're going to have a bigger problem.
Lastly, wanted to ask you about the No Kings protests. You just had a conversation with Simon Rosenberg and who's that woman?
Kara McGowan.
Kara McGowan, very smart, and talked about the results of the protests. What do they mean? Where are we at? My reaction was it was 2 million the first time, 5 million. This one was 7 million. And this last one, I feel like probably a lot of people didn't come out because they've seen the violence in the streets. They were probably legitimately worried. There'd be crazy people trying to run people down with their dumb pickup trucks, or ICE would be out there. Or Trump would, use it as a way to create more violence. But in fact, there were very few arrests. There was very little violence. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's encouraging that more people will come out the next time. That's my smart take. I'm sure you're wildly impressed by it.
I'm wildly impressed. Can you answer a question for me, though? Because I've tried on my own podcast to get an answer for this, and I just don't know the answer.
Yeah.
If you have an inflatable frog suit, do you inflate the suit and then get in it? Or do you get in it and then inflate it?
Yeah, you get in them, and then you hit a switch, and then it inflates. It's not already inflated when you get in there.
It's not already?
No, but if it were, I'd probably try to have sex with it.
Are you a plushie?
I would like to be. I have never, but I'm interested in it. Like if it were already fully formed and there was like a hole somewhere, I'd probably be like, huh.
Yeah. None of your listeners are surprised, Pete. Anyway, my view is that, anytime 7 million Americans get up and do something, you got to say, wow, they something's going on here. I personally do not, I'm not like really like a huge fan of these big, decentralized protests. Right. I'm old enough to remember Occupy Wall Street, which seemed like, oh yeah, that's great, Occupy Wall Street. But there was no leader, there was no agenda, there was no ask, and it never led anywhere. Would I like to see these grow? Yes. Is it good because it mobilizes people? Yes. Does it send a good message? Sure. Would it be better if it were a national strike that really shut things down in this country? I think it would. And, we'll have to see how far we have to go, because it goes back to this point before. In any circumstance, and this is what Tara and Simon were saying on the podcast, such as the one we're in now, where Trump's approval ratings are in the 30s, where the economy is trending in a bad direction, prices are going up, the economy is slowing down, jobs are not being created, where our standing in the world is falling, where people are getting kicked off of health care, kicked out of the VA, not being able to get food stamps, not getting the services they want. And it was a midterm election. You would absolutely know that there would be a huge wave election for the Democrats. And so the political conditions in the United States, and it's manifest in these No Kings rallies, are good if you oppose Trump. The problem is none of us, to go back to the earlier point, are sure just how free and fair the elections are going to be. And so we, if you and I were sitting here, we'd go, well, the Democrats are going to win next year, and what should their agenda be? But we don't know, because there's gerrymandering, because Trump cheats, because he's going to send troops into these places, because he's going to send ICE into these places, because, when he sends ICE to the Super Bowl to arrest Bad Bunny fans, a lot of people are going to go, should I show up to vote? Because something bad could happen to me, even if I'm an American citizen. And so there's a lot of thumbs being put on the scales right now. And that's the question. The real question before the United States right now is not will we have free and fair elections? We won't. It's how free and fair will the elections be? And will they be free and fair enough for the Democrats to retake one or the other house of the Congress?
That is a really, really good way of framing it. Not will it be free and fair, but how many restrictions, how many thumbs will be on the scale, how many obstacles will there be in the way of fairness, the pathway to a fair vote. But we've already seen the gerrymandering, and they're always sowing. He's always sowing doubt, constantly working on. Right now, I think this upcoming election in California, he's trying to sow doubt about the Prop 50 vote.
Well, that's another topic which I expected you to bring up, but we can
Katy Perry
wrap up. No, I knew you'd bring that up. Is he going to run for a third term?
Oh,
and he's been talking about it yesterday. He's been talking about it. Well, of course he can't run for a third term, but
Steve Bannon says he'll take care of it.
Yeah, but Steve Bannon says we have a way around it. But I think. Personally, I don't think he's going to be able to run for a third term for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is his health. Viz the MRI that he said he had without explaining why.
Everybody gets an
Everybody has an MRI.
Well, I'd get an MRI if I were president. Just throw me through that tube and just make.
I would no way would I do that. I hate that. I'm claustrophobic. The idea of going in those tubes, I hate that idea. Oh. Anyway, but the reality is, if people realize that Donald Trump is about to be 80, is losing his marbles, is going to lose in next year's elections, and is a lame duck, this whole house of cards of him as the all-powerful king collapses instantly. And people start going, well, is it going to be JD? Is it going to be Marco? Who's going to be the other one? Is it going to be a Democrat? And all of a sudden, all the billionaires start running to the other side of the boat, and the boat starts tipping in the other direction because they're like, well, we got to get behind whoever it is because we want to buy them off so that they do policies that we want. And we would stop talking about Trump. The only way Trump can keep the conversation about himself is to perpetuate the idea that he is president beyond 2028.
Well, I mean, he's printed hats.
Okay, well, that's an absolute commitment on his part to run. And that undoes the Constitution because there is the clause that says if you print a bunch of baseball caps that reverse anything in the Constitution, it is null and void. But the point is, there is a political objective behind this. I think he realizes he's vulnerable.
And so he
says, I'm going to run again and I'm still relevant and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, that would be an argument that he's got his wits about him, that he's sane, that he's not senile.
As we all know from our own experiences in life, and as people may conclude from just listening to this podcast, people can become senile in ways, but not in every way. Trump, the last thing...
I'm attracted to inflatables. That doesn't make me senile.
Yeah, and I really hope that there's a GoFundMe among your listeners to get you that inflatable frog costume that you would like to enter into a lasting relationship with.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I look forward to joining you on the next podcast when you're in that costume one way or another. But the reality is here, we're in a very, very ugly place in American politics that we've never been there before. And people need to know that unless they wake up, unless they spread the word, unless they get active themselves, unless they're not afraid to push back, unless they resist the intimidation of the government, everything that they sort of thought was factored into this sort of American equation can no longer be counted on.
And if you want to know more about what you need to know, go read David's Substack called Need to Know, davidrothkopf.substack.com, and go subscribe to Deep State Radio, where there's just a massive media presence of several different really smart shows hosted by very smart people that I listen to religiously.
Go to the DSR network, or our fastest audience growth, probably like yours, is on YouTube. So
yes, go to
subscribe
YouTube.
on YouTube, like it on YouTube.
YouTube.com/Deep State Radio.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to find it right now and subscribe. And I hope that everybody else will as well. Thank you very much for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, there you go. David Rothkopf. This time yesterday, the show somehow, the interview cut off for some listeners. I fixed it. I had no idea what happened, re-uploaded it. And the full conversation with my guest Ray Madoff is up on YouTube and should be up everywhere you listen to it, including Patreon if some of you listen there. I updated the file that it didn't have us just ending in the middle of a sentence, which sometimes happens. I'll be better about listening to the very end of the final file I choose. Sometimes I grab the wrong one at my desk and get it to you. Oops, that could be a real shit show. There you go, David Rothkopf, your headlines, the clip show, and that's a wrap. Thank you very much for joining me today. I will talk to you tomorrow. I should be live later this afternoon around 4 o'clock with a national security expert in Colin Clark from the Sufan Group, who I know. Real smart guy, real good guy, talking about all the saber rattling in the Caribbean by our useless S. Grant of a president. So look for that today around 4 on YouTube and Substack and everywhere else. And that's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Be well. John Carroll, johncarroll.org. Go buy the album. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's right. We got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up. Stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up. Stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right. We got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.